Good evening to all. Tonight, I will be presenting the topic on training and professional development. But before that, please let me introduce myself. I am Jatron Setenta, PhD in Extension Education student. I believe na lahat tayo ay naka-attend na ng training. At para sa atin, it's a way of developing our skills or gaining additional knowledge, hindi ba? So, in other words, training is a systematic process through which an organization's human resources, which is tayo ng mga employees, gain knowledge and develop skills by instruction and practical activities that result in improved corporate performance. It involves different interventions that we can call learning activities na intended for gaining knowledge and skills development para ma-improve ang ating performance sa trabaho. And speaking of corporate performance, dito papasok ang professional development. So, ang professional development is defined as a consciously designed, systematic process that strengthens how staff obtains, retains, and applies knowledge, skills, and attitudes. Meaning, it is a continued training and education of an individual in regards to his or her career. Ang goal ng professional development is to keep us up to date on current trends sa ating trabaho to not only be competent in our professions but also excel in it. Now let's look at how some scholars define training. According to Jussius, training is the process of acquiring specific skills to perform a job better. Yes, this is true. We undergo training to acquire specific skill to improve our job performance. Let's take for example, in our office, we undergo training on strategic communication planning every year. This is to improve our skills and gain additional knowledge on how we should properly communicate with our stakeholders. Dito, tinuturuan kami on different approaches in technology transfer like social marketing to further enhance our skills in effective transfer of technology which will result to adoption of the technology by our target clients. And according to Dahama naman, training helps people to become qualified and proficient in doing some jobs. So usually, an organization facilitates the employees' learning through training so that their modified behavior contributes to the attainment of the organization's goals and objectives. Van der Sal defined training as the process of teaching, informing, or educating people so that first, they may become as well qualified as possible to do their job, and second, they become qualified to perform in positions of greater difficulty and responsibility. Ano naman ang pagkakaiba ng training, education, and development? Training is short-term, task-oriented, and targeted on achieving a change of attitude, skills, and knowledge in a specific area. It is usually job-related. Take note, it is short-term and specific. Ang education naman is a lifetime investment. It tends to be initiated by a person in the area of his or her interest. So, lifetime investment ang education, and unlike sa training, habang buhay ito, of course, lifetime. Nagsisimula ang education sa isang tao at a young age hanggang sa paglaki. Ang development naman is a long-term investment in human resources. Filippo differentiated between education and training, locating this at the two ends of a continuum of personal development ranging from a general education to specific training. While training is concerned with those activities which are designed to improve human performance on the job that employees are at present doing or are being hired to do, education naman is concerned with increasing general knowledge and understanding of the total environment. So education is the development of the human mind, and it increases the powers of observation, analysis, integration, understanding, decision-making, and adjustment to new situations. Now that we learned what is training, let's now know naman the types of training. Training may broadly be categorized into two types, the pre-service training and in-service training. So, ang pre-service training is more academic in nature and is offered by formal institutions following definite curricula and syllabi for a certain duration to offer a formal degree or diploma. So, ang pre-service training is a process through which individuals are made ready to enter a certain kind of professional job such as agriculture, medicine, or engineering. Let's take note of the words made ready. Ibig sabihin, ang pre-service training ay binibigay to prepare you for a certain job. They have to attend regular classes in a formal institution and need to complete a definite curriculum and courses successfully to receive a formal degree or diploma. They are not entitled to get a professional job unless they can earn a certificate, diploma, or degree from the appropriate institution. Pre-service training contents emphasize mostly technical subject matter such as crops, animal husbandry, and fisheries, as well as pedagogical skills to prepare the students to work in agriculture. So this is in relation to learning something in agriculture. So ang example natin dito sa pre-service training is yung sa National Certificate or NC2 na binibigay ng TESDA. It's your proof na you are skilled for that specific field. Sa second naman is in-service training. It is offered by the organization from time to time for the development of skills and knowledge of the incumbents. In-service training is a process of staff development for the purpose of improving the performance of an incumbent holding a position with assigned job responsibilities. It promotes the professional growth of individuals. In-service training is a problem-centered, learner-oriented, and time-bound series of activities which provide the opportunity to develop a sense of purpose, broaden perception of the clientele, and increase capacity to gain knowledge and mastery of techniques. So, dito sa in-service training, na-fall yung mga ina-attenan nating training sa ating trabaho, sa school. In general, two types of pre-service training are available for agricultural staff. These are applicable sa atin as extension agent or extension worker. These types of pre-service are first, degree level. Dito, at least a bachelor's degree in agriculture or related field, which is usually offered for 4 years by university or agricultural college. So, ang diploma level naman, which is our second type, is mostly offered by the schools of agriculture for a period of 2 to 3 years. The entry point for the former is normally 12 years of schooling and for the latter, 10 years of schooling. So, ibig sabihin, sa diploma level ay yung mga courses offered na ladderized na pwede mo siyang i-earn for 2 years and pwede mo siyang i-continue to get a degree which is magfo-fall na siya sa ating first type which is the degree level. In-service training may broadly be categorized into 5 different types. Introduction or orientation training, foundation training, on-the-job training, refresher or maintenance training, and ang ikalima, career development training. All of these types of training are needed for the proper development of extension staff throughout their service life. So, what is induction or orientation training? Induction training is given immediately after employment to introduce the new extension staff members to their positions. It begins on the first day the new employee is on the job. This type of training is aimed at acquainting the new employee with the organization and its personnel. Induction training for all new personnel should develop an attitude of personal dedication to the service of people and the organization. Next is foundation training. It is in-service training which is also appropriate for newly recruited personnel. Besides technical competence and routine instruction about the organization, every staff member needs some professional knowledge about various rules and regulations of the government, financial transactions, administrative capability, communication skills, leadership ability, coordination and cooperation among institutions, and their linkage mechanism, report writing, and so on. Foundation training is made available to employees to strengthen the foundation of their service career. This training is usually provided at an early stage of service life. Third one is the maintenance or refresher training. Ito naman is offered to update and maintain the specialized subject matter knowledge of the incumbents or the employees. It keeps the specialists, administrator, extension supervisors, and frontline workers updated and enables them to add to the knowledge and skills they have already. Maintenance or refresher training usually deals with new information and new methods as well as review of older materials. This type of training is needed both to keep employees at the peak of their possible production and to prevent them from getting into a rut. This is according to Van der Sal. So, dito pumapasok yung mga training na binibigay sa atin dito sa maintenance or refresher training. The other types of training naman is on-the-job training. This is an ad hoc or regularly scheduled training such as periodical training under the training and visit system of extension and is provided by the superior officer or the human resource officer to the subordinate field staff. This training is generally problem or technology oriented and may include formal presentations, informal discussion, and opportunities to try out new skills and knowledge in the field. And the last type of in-service training is career or development training. This type of in-service training is designed to upgrade the knowledge, skills, and ability of employees to help them assume greater responsibility in higher positions. Career development is the act of acquiring information and resources that enables one to plan a program of lifelong learning related to his or her work life. Let's proceed now to the learning methods. Ito yung madalas natin ma-encounter when it comes to career development. So first, we have training. And training is an instructional experience provided primarily by employers for employees, designed to develop new skills and knowledge that are expected to be applied immediately upon arrival or return to the job. Next, we have workshop. It is an educational program for a small group of people that focuses on techniques and skills in a particular field that has long-term benefits. Technical assistance is a tailored guidance to meet the specific needs of a site or sites through collaborative communication between a specialist and the sites. Takes into account site-specific circumstances and culture and can be provided through phone, mail, email, internet, or in-person meetings. In other words, this involves on-site coaching kung saan you provide technical assistance on a specific need of your personnel, ganyan. Next is presentations. Presentation includes speech or visual display tailored to specific audiences such as school administrators, faculty, education and health professionals, adolescents, parents, college students, legislators, or community groups. Information session naman is a presentation or other instructional activity delivered in a short period of time that focuses on a specific topic. And let's take note that trainings and workshops are 3 or more hours long and have highly effective transfer skills, while ang information and presentations are delivered in a short period of time, usually 30 minutes and not more than 3 hours, and focus on a specific program topic. Let's now proceed to the phases of training. Training is a circular process that begins with needs identification and after a number of steps ends with evaluation of that training activity. A change or deficiency in any step of the training process affects the whole system, and therefore it is important for a trainer to have a clear understanding about all phases and steps of the training process. In the broadest view, there are three phases of training process: the planning, implementation, and evaluation. First phase is the planning. The planning phase encompasses several activities, two of which training needs identification and curriculum development. These are very important in planning phase. Training needs identification. Training need is a condition where there is a gap between what is and what should be in terms of incumbents' knowledge, skills, attitudes, and behavior for a particular situation at one point in time. This gap is called a problem, which usually occurs when a difference exists between desired performance and actual performance. The needs identification process assists trainers in making sure that they have matched a training program to a training problem. For example, agricultural extension workers have been giving training to village extension workers, but performance of the village extension workers is not improving. So the reasons may be the agricultural extension officers lack subject matter knowledge, or the agricultural extension officers do not conduct training well, or maybe the training center lacks training facilities, or maybe the village extension workers are organized not to work properly until their demands are satisfied by the government. The first two problems are related to knowledge and skills and can be solved effectively by a training program. But the third and fourth problems need government attention to solve. Training needs identification is possible through different analytical procedures. The major procedures used in determining training needs are the following. First is the organizational analysis. Organizational analysis determines where training emphasis should be placed within the organization and is based on the objectives of an organization. Organizational analysis involves stating the goals and objectives of an organization, analyzing the human resources, analyzing the organizational climate. So the results of this analysis are then compared with the objectives of the organization. These comparisons point to specific areas in which training is needed. So the next analytical procedure is the individual analysis. It aims at identifying specific training needs for an individual or group of employees so that training can be tailored to their needs. This analysis centers on individuals and their specific needs concerning the skills, knowledge, or attitudes they must develop to perform their assigned tasks. The possible methods or techniques for individual analysis include performance appraisal, interviews, questionnaires, tests, analysis of behavior, informal talks, checklists, counseling, critical incidents, recording, surveys, and observations. Group analysis includes a number of techniques in which a group of well-informed employees discuss different aspects of the organization. The employees and the task to identify the major discrepancies in achieving predetermined targets for each of them with a view to assessing training needs as distinguished from other necessary changes for removing these discrepancies. The major techniques which are used in this approach are brainstorming, advisory committee, conferences, problem clinic, role-playing, simulation, task forces, workshops, and the like. Many problems exist in an organization, but some problems cannot be solved by training alone. After a preliminary needs analysis, which gives probable causes and solutions, The results should be verified with the concerned personnel of the organization to determine whether training is an appropriate action to solve that problem. The next is curriculum development. This is the most important part in a training program after a need for training has been identified. The curriculum specifies what will be taught and how it will be taught. It provides the framework and foundation of training. The first phase of curriculum development determines what will be taught, that is, the training content. Once training needs have been identified and training activities have been decided as part of the solution, a needs analysis should be done to determine knowledge, skills, and attitude requirements and performance deficiencies. The needs analysis procedure involves breaking down the training problem into its basic parts in different successive phases to identify and understand the important components in each phase. Ultimately, it leads to identifying and understanding the training content. The training needs analysis process can be divided into three distinct analytical phases. So ito ang job analysis, task analysis, and knowledge and skill gap analysis. So ang first analytical phase is the job analysis. Ano ito? It is a method of determining major areas of task where training may be needed. It involves the dissecting of a job into its component events or parts. This analysis allows a trainer to better understand what an employee does in an organization. Job analysis involves the task identification of a particular job. The techniques used in task identification include job questionnaire, interview, participants observation, work sampling, job audit, and small group discussion. In here, the following steps may provide a guide for completion of job analysis. First is identify the job that is to be the subject of the analysis. This involves defining the focal point for the job analysis. It may include the entire job of a group of employees or only a specific significant of their job. Second is to prepare a list of tasks which can be done following different approaches and methods. Four approaches can be used to identify job tasks. First, experts identify and list critical tasks. Second, observations and interviews are conducted with employees. Third, meetings are held with group representatives. And fourth, a tentative list of tasks is reviewed by employees and their supervisors. Ang third step as a guide for completion of job analysis is verify the tasks. The draft list of tasks should be verified by experts, workers, and supervisors in the analysis process. This can be done through expert review, small group discussions, and interviews. When the tasks are verified, a final list of job tasks is prepared. The fourth is determine the frequency. The workers and supervisors can fill in a form indicating how frequently each task in a job is performed. 5 is to determine the importance. Not all tasks are equally important to a job. An occasionally performed task may be very important. Therefore, a relative importance rating is useful along with frequency rating. A scale such as marginally important, moderately important, extremely important may be used to determine the relative importance of the job task. Next is to estimate the learning difficulty. An estimate of learning difficulty is another dimension of the job task analysis. It shows the trainer, the employee's perception of difficulty which may be different from the trainee's own perception. 7 is to calculate the total score. This can be done by simply adding the scores for frequency, importance, and learning difficulty for each task. And lastly is to review the findings. The results of the job task analysis should be discussed with significant people in the training system. Next analytical phase is task analysis. Its procedures include writing down the name of the job at the top in a sheet and breaking down and analyzing each of the most important job tasks. Therefore, it is necessary to write one important task identified for training on each of the task analysis worksheets and to list all component parts of each task on its respective task analysis worksheet. This is followed by the steps used for job analysis to find out the frequency, importance, and learning difficulty for each step of the tasks. The job analysis and task analysis processes are similar to each other, so the model for both worksheets is the same. The important difference between these two steps of analysis is that the job analysis helps us identify major blocks of content to include in training, while the task analysis helps us understand what comprises an individual block. But both are very important to the curriculum development process. What needs to be taught and what steps are involved in the process are completed by this analysis and comprise the major steps in curriculum development. Knowledge and skill gap analysis is a process of determining the training needs of individual employees in relation to the important tasks, steps, or components of tasks identified for training. The skill gap analysis determines how skilled or proficient individual employees are on these tasks or components, how much individual differ from desired performance, and whether or not they need training. It would be a waste of resources and frustrating to the trainer and trainees to design and deliver training on topics and skills where the trainees are already able and proficient. For example, in our office, we do career development plan or the individual development plan. This is done prior to preparing for a work and financial plan for the following year. So in here, we need to assess ourselves in terms of our knowledge and skills and competencies on the tasks as part of our job as well as other aspects. Then our scores are interpreted into beginner, developing, component, and expert. So kapag beginner and developing ka on a particular competency, yun yung gagawing basis ng Human Resource Department namin in coming up with a training to compensate your competency needs. So, the training needs analysis provide many things to a trainer. The analysis determine the training contents and how deficient the trainings are in these contents. And the sequence of tasks provides the sequence of training activity. A training program has a better chance of success when its training methods are carefully selected. A training method is a strategy or tactic that a trainer uses to deliver the content so that the trainees achieve the objective. This is according to Wentling. Selecting an appropriate training method is perhaps the most important step in training activity once the training contents are identified. Lagi nating tandaan na there are many training methods, but not all of these are equally suitable for all topics and in all situations. To achieve the training objective, a trainer should select the most appropriate training method for the content to involve the trainees in the learning process. So this is very crucial. Four major factors are considered when selecting a training method: the learning objective, the content, the trainees, of course, and the practical requirements. According to Bass and Vaughan, training methods should be selected on the basis of the degree to which they do the following. First, allow active participation of the learners. Second, help the learners transfer learning experiences from training to the job situation. Next is provide the learners with knowledge of results about their attempts to improve. Fourth, provide some means for the learners to be reinforced for the appropriate behavior. Fifth, provide the learners with an opportunity to practice and to repeat when needed. Sixth, motivate the learners to improve their own performance, and lastly, help learners increase their willingness to change. These criteria indicate that a single training method will not satisfy the objectives of a training program. A variety of training methods are available to a trainer. The most commonly used include instructor presentation, wherein trainer orally presents new information to the trainees, usually through lecture. Instructor presentation may include classroom lecture, seminar, workshop, and the like. So ito yung madalas na ginagawa sa mga trainings na ina-attendan natin. Second is the group discussion. The trainer leads the group of trainees in discussing a topic. Third is demonstration. The trainer shows the correct steps for completing a task or shows an example of a correctly completed task. And fourth is assigned reading. The trainer gives the trainees reading assignments that provide new information. The fifth is exercise. The trainer assigns problems to be solved either on paper or in real situations related to the topic of the training activity. Ang ika-anim is the case study. The trainer gives the trainees information about a situation and directs them to come to a decision or solve a problem concerning the situation. Next is role play. Trainees act out a real-life situation in an instructional setting. And yung number 8 is field visit and study tour. Trainees are given the opportunity to observe and interact with the problem being solved or skill being learned. Ito yung madalas na ginagawa na tinatawag nating yung benchmarking, ganyan, or lakbay aral, ganyan. The second phase of training is the implementation. Once the planning phase of a training program is complete, then it is time to implement the course. Implementation is the point where a trainer activates the training plan, or it is the process of putting a training program into operation. The first step towards implementing a training program is publicity. Most of the well-established training centers develop training brochures which contain course descriptions, prepare an annual calendar of training opportunities, and inform concerned organizations, agencies, or departments well ahead of time about their training plans. Once a training center and concerned organizations agree to implement training, the next step is to arrange available resources, such as sufficient funds for the course and facilities for food, lodging, transportation, and recreation. All these resources need to be well managed and coordinated to run the program smoothly. So in our case, we prepare a training design, and these are included the program, the budget, and the methodologies. Yon. The third phase of training is the evaluation. Evaluation is a process to determine the relevance, effectiveness, and impact of activities in light of their objectives. In evaluating an extension training program, one needs to consider that most training activities exist in a larger context of projects, programs, and plans. Thus, RAAB defined training evaluation as a systematic process of collecting information. Let us remember, it's a systematic process of collecting information for and about a training activity, which can then be used for guiding decision making and for assessing the relevance and effectiveness of various training components. On the basis of the time dimension, evaluation may be classified as 1. Formative evaluation, and second, summative evaluation. So, ang formative evaluation involves a collection of relevant and useful data when the training program is being conducted. This information can identify the drawbacks and unintended outcomes and is helpful in revising the plan and structure of training programs to suit the needs of the situation. Ang summative evaluation naman is done at the end of the program and makes an overall assessment of its effectiveness in relation to achieving the objectives and goals. So in our case, when we conduct a training, at the end of the activity ay nagpapa-evaluate kami sa participants through client satisfaction survey. So our participants have to rate the program as a whole, including yung sa topics discussed, sa presenters, and sa overall experience nila in attending the training. RAAB, however, classified evaluation into four major steps. First is the evaluation for planning, second, process evaluation, third, terminal evaluation, and fourth, impact evaluation. Ang evaluation for planning provides information with which planning decisions are made. Training contents and procedures, like methods and materials, are usually planned at this stage in order to choose or guide the development of instructional aids and strategies. Ang process evaluation naman is conducted to detect or predict defects in the procedural design of a training activity during the implementation phase. Through this process, the key elements of the training activities are systematically monitored. Problems are identified and attempts are made to rectify the mistakes before they become serious. Process evaluation is periodically conducted throughout the entire period of the program. Ang terminal evaluation naman is conducted to find out the effectiveness of a training program after it is completed. The objectives of terminal evaluation are to determine the degree to which desired benefits and goals have been achieved, along with the causes of failure, if any. And last one is the impact evaluation. It assesses changes in on-the-job behavior as a result of training efforts. It provides feedback from the trainees and supervisors about the outcomes of training. It measures how appropriate the training was in changing the behavior of participants in real-life situations. Kirkpatrick suggested four criteria to evaluate training programs. First, the reaction. Ang reaction measures how the trainees like the program in terms of content, methods, duration, trainers, facility, and management. So ito yung dito papasok yung sa client satisfaction survey. Second is the learning. This measures the trainees' skills and knowledge which they were able to absorb at the time of training. Dito papasok yung post-test na binibigay natin sa ating participants ng training. And third one is the behavior. This concerned with the extent to which the trainees were able to apply their knowledge to real field situation. So, basically, para itong sa ginagawa namin, para itong action plan. And the fourth one is the results. Results concerned with the tangible impact of the training program on individuals, their job environment, or the organization as a whole. So that's all for my report. I hope you learned something about training and professional development. Thank you so much, and once again, good evening.